So this is the Ohio governor's race, depending on how
Senate race.
Senate race.
There's the governor.
Excuse me.
There's the governor.
Oh yeah, there's the governor. Sorry, these look identical. So we got two very close races here. Amy Acton versus Vivek Ramaswamy. And one thing we talked about before the show, and one thing that's important to point out here is these 65 plus voters.
Yep.
So Ramaswamy,
old, folks.
Old. It's an old state. And these are likely voters being polled in this poll right now. So 65 plus among likely voters, those are some really high propensity voters. 65 plus, they are much more likely to vote than other age cohorts. And they're only going for Ramaswamy by 49. And I know that may not seem like a small number, that may seem significant, but for a Republican, it's not great. And I think there are probably some reasons, some fairly obvious reasons why he's not doing so well with 65 plus voters, and maybe not as well with white voters as you might expect. And could it be something with MAGA hating all foreigners? I think it has something to do with race and religion. I'm just throwing that out there. And of course, that isn't a hit coming from us, from Ramaswamy, but this is the reality. These voters in Ohio, older white voters in Ohio, are not necessarily comfortable with a brown Hindu man being their governor. And
Fact.
That is the way it is, unfortunately. But I think he'll suffer for it. And Amy Acton has other advantages beyond that, of course. For all of these Democratic candidates who are running in these red states where Republicans are trying to hold on to these open seats, especially, Republicans don't have the incumbency advantage, and Republicans have this huge environmental advantage that we've talked about a million times.
Well, one thing I think people should know, and I didn't have this stat off the top of my head, but I just pulled it out. 50 and older voters make up 65% of the Ohio electorate. It is an old state, folks. And if he's only tied there, and look at her numbers with 18 to 29s and with 30 to 44s, I mean, this is a rough go for Ramaswamy if he's not pushing higher numbers in that, especially in the 65 plus category. But in any case, he's going to have to up that number, because that's not an environment that's great for him.
And something similar played out in the Republican primary.
Sure,
Ramaswamy was popular with sort of the MAGA online. He had some motion online, but he was not taken seriously. And I think a lot of voters in Ohio are not going to take him seriously as a candidate, other than the fact that he has an R by his name. He's not held political office before. I don't even, how long has he lived in Ohio? I haven't looked that up, but
it's his residency in Ohio has been questioned by a lot of people.
So he's at a disadvantage, and in a close race like this, when you're looking at likely voters and it's 47-47, you're kind of throwing the dart. But I do think the vast weight of the advantages in this race are leaning towards Amy Acton. You see a close race, and it will be on election night. It will be very close.
Yes.
And to be clear, we've talked about Democrats have a lot of opportunities this year and could win some of these red state seats. But that doesn't mean that these races are going to be, Democrats aren't going to be running away with a lot of these races. They're going to be really close, 1, 2, and 3 points. And that's what I foresee in this governor's race. I remember, there's not an ultimate prize for winning enough governor's races. But it is important. This will be, I think, if Acton is winning, a leading indicator of how well Democrats are going to do in these Senate races in the Midwest, and how well, what we'll see across these other similar states like Ohio, like Iowa, like Michigan,
right?
Even Wisconsin. So this will tell us about those races, and we'll see. I think we should take a look at these Senate numbers too.
Yeah,
interesting as well.